Testing.
Hello. Is it on?
Hello? Is Testing. Ooh. Ooh. Maxie, I'm talking to the TV, you fucking dog. I'm talking to the TV. I'm doing that weird thing that I do, or I make weird noises at the start. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, Max. Is it on? Got a show here. It's Max the dog, everybody. Max the dog. Everybody give it up for Max the doggy. Max, come uppy. Uppy, Max. No, he's not coming uppy. Max is... dog. He's a puppy. It's the show, the Above It All show today, starring Hello everyone and welcome this morning to the program. This is the Above It All experimental experience. And today I'm going to be doing a show. We're going to be discussing news stories on this show. We're going to be discussing the world, the state of the world on this show. We're going to be discussing science. I love discussing science, you know. Is it going to be like space? No, I'm not. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be space. It's going to be, body-related science. I love the body. The human body, both outwardly and inwardly. I mean, it's something. It's the Above It All show. Today is Monday. I did a show yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday at 10 a.m. I'm playing with a new schedule for now. You know, I'm not, it's not temporary. This is the new permanent schedule. And if I change it in the future, it will not go back to what it was previously. I mean, it could theoretically, but that is not to say, that whatever you thought of was the schedule, gone until I change it again. But for now, I'm taking Saturday and Wednesday off. Saturday is going to be my leisure day where I do nothing. And by that, I mean I do drugs. And then Wednesday is going to be, the day where I work on every project that's not this. So that's going to be from now until I determine that I don't need to do that anymore. That's going to be my schedule. 10 a.m. every single stream day. There's no exceptions. There's no changes to the weekday, but there is a change to the weekend. I used to stream at noon on the weekends. To be honest with you, I never really liked doing it. I only did it for the viewers, because people preferred that. But at this point, I'm choosing to do what I prefer. So I'm doing 10 a.m. every day, and including today, because today is Monday. Monday, it is January 30th. Can you believe that we've been here? We've been here for a month now. 30 days we've been here. Here being 2023. Everything changed in 2023. We're, new year, new me. Is anyone still doing their New Year's resolutions? We know as a society that most people give up around some way through the second week. Anyone here Did anyone here have any New Year's resolutions? Are you still doing them? Chances are you're not, because you're a human being and New Year resolutions are fucking stupid. But if you failed your New Year's resolution, why not try again? Why wait until next January? There's a new month coming around the corner, and think of it this way, February, pretty short month. You know? Like January, 31 days. I mean, you know, you'd have to be a genius to make it through 31 days of a New Year resolution, right? 28 days, easy mode. Anyone can make it through February. So I say, if you had a New Year's resolution, wasn't going so well so far, why not give it another shot? New month, new me. Anyway, that's my motivational speech for today. Doing a show. Yesterday I did a Twitch stream for about 6 hours. I know none of the people here right now watched it because I didn't see you in the chat. So thanks a lot, B the Rookie, aka Brook, excluded. So thanks a lot, everyone, for showing up and supporting me in my endeavors. It means a lot. But anyway, we're doing a new show here. Today is actually the day that I do a new show. So doing a show today, everybody. That noise is me playing with a fidget toy. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be, you know, what are you going to do? But anyway, I will be streaming again today. Maybe for 6 hours. I, at this point, found my preference for streaming. So, you know, I will be streaming maybe, I don't know about 6 hours. I'm not going to guarantee that, but I will be streaming today. So if you want to give me a follow, tune in. That'd be cool. So there's some particularly interesting news today. Let me take a sip from my coffee to prevent myself from saying anything in the first 8 to 15 seconds. Utah bans transition care for transgender youth. We have some interesting stuff coming out of Utah. It's not good. Now, again, let's throw this headline through the imagination machine. Right? What if someone did a law that banned, I don't know, let's say ADHD medication for children. Let's say depression medication for children. Right? Would that make sense? Well, they are experimental. You know, if your definition of experimental is we don't really have science on long-term effects, right? Because that's their goal here. Experimental. Wouldn't putting kids on SSRIs be experimental? Now, of course, that's not really that controversial. The facts of the matter are SSRIs work for some people. They don't work for other people. How do you know if it works? You try it, and if it doesn't work, you stop. It's the same mentality with transition care. You try it. If it doesn't work for you, you stop. And you're back to normal, whatever your normal was before that. That's a fact with how puberty blockers function. There's no long-term effect. We know that. Why do we know that? Because we've been using puberty blockers on cisgender people who experience early onset puberty, which can cause complications. You know, so we know that they're safe. We understand that. We've done the research on that. Now, I also ask you for this question. Of course, you know, anyone who supports this ban They don't speak in logic. They don't communicate in logic. So I know speaking in logic is irrelevant for that. You're not going to convince anyone that believes that transgender people shouldn't be allowed to go to the doctor. You're not going to convince them. There's no good argument. If I just sit down here and I craft the right collection of words that just hits every logic center in their brain, they don't have any logic centers, right? So obviously this is just, they hate queer people and they want to advocate for that bigotry via legislation. But, just throwing it out here, just for the sake of my own mental health, let's pretend like the other side of this conversation is interested in logic, just so that I could get through this segment here. How do we know what puberty blockers are? We gave them to cisgender people when they would experience early onset puberty. Hormone therapy. How did we even get hormones? How did we get exogenous hormones, and why are they so easily available? For example, a lot of people, when they go on some form of birth control, they can have hormonal issues that results in them needing to take hormones. People going through menopause, for example, can need exogenous hormones in order to maintain bodily function without, losing things like bone density and so forth, right? A lot of men, for example, cisgender men, in their 30s and 40s, they start to undergo massive muscular degrowth and loss. Why? Because their rate of testosterone production decreases. So a lot of men in their 30s, 40s, and sometimes 50s get prescribed hormone therapy in the form of testosterone so that they can boost them back up to baseline levels. Hormones have been given to cisgender people forever. At least as long as we've had them in the modern medicine world that we live in. So the idea that this is like a new thing is wrong. It's just not true. The idea that it's understudied, everything is understudied. I want to study every aspect of every drug. I want to study how French fries affect your body. I want to study how Coca-Cola affects your body, right? So everything is understudied. But the idea that transgender healthcare is in any particular way understudied compared to other forms of healthcare is honestly ludicrous to me. But again, we live in a country full of toddlers. The average American, mentally speaking, is about 3 or 4 years old. They never really progressed after that. And we live in a country of toddlers and bullies. That's just how it is. You just have to face facts. Most Americans are bad people. It's just, they were born to be bad people. They were bred to be bad people. They were raised by bad people. Most Americans, it's just a fact, are shitty human beings. Most people, in Western civilization especially, I don't know anything about Eastern civilization, never been there, so I can't make that claim. But in Western civilization, most people, they are taught from a young age to hate another person. They are taught from a young age to judge other people. That's just how we live. That's capitalism, baby. We live in a shithole. And so, again, people that advocate for this stuff, they don't believe in logic. They don't. They just don't, right? What is logic, right? Logic is kind of like trying to apply mathematical standards to language, right? You can't really do it, but you can kind of, right? For example, 2 plus 2, it equals 4. You can't say 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 if it's just, it equals 4, right? So you apply that kind of thinking to language, right? You would think, if someone's issue with transgender people is based on the medical stuff, right? They've said that. It's understudied. Well, you can point to 9 other things that they don't believe should be banned that are equally understudied, and they would say, I never thought of it that way, I guess I changed my mind. That doesn't happen with these people, right? You don't actually talk to these people and then they actually change their mind. Why is that? Because the logic, right, that they are using, right, because in math it's easy, everyone has the same rules, right? But imagine if someone, they had their own math, and in their world 2 plus 1 equaled 4. Well, that's how this conversation works when it comes to transgender rights in this country. Is one side is saying 2 plus 2 equals 4, and they're saying, why don't you understand this? It's obvious 2 and 2 equal 4. The other side, they just have a different rule set. They're not speaking the same language. It's like one side is speaking English, the other side is speaking Mandarin. They're completely different languages. They're spoken in completely different ways. They're written in completely different ways, right? And so you can't really have that kind of conversation. So again, people that support this kind of stuff, they are motivated not by logic of, the medical stuff, whatever. They might say that, but that's not the case. They are motivated, their internal logic is that they hate transgender people. That's it. That's their internal logic. You can't reason with that because it's inherently and fundamentally illogical. You cannot do that, right? It's like, again, if someone says, actually, 2 + 1 = 4, and they genuinely, with all of their heart, believe that, there's no amount of showing the math on 2 + 2. It doesn't work because fundamentally, they disagree with the tools being used, right? And so that's why this conversation, when we have this conversation with people in our families, whatever it is, it's talking past each other, right? You will never, ever, ever convince someone not to hate transgender people with a logical argument about healthcare standards. It's not going to happen because fundamentally they don't give a shit about, they're 17, too young to make that decision. They don't care about that. 17-year-olds can drive cars. They can get guns in several states in the country, right? They can make a decision like going to college, which is essentially deciding to be an indentured servant for 30 to 40 years. A 17-year-old's allowed to make that decision. How many people do you know that are saddled with student loan debt that said they were groomed in high school as children? They were groomed into thinking that they needed to go to college. They went to college because people groomed them to believe that. And now they're 37 years old and they've still got a shitload of student loan debt. They've already paid what they borrowed 4 times over and they still got 5 times left. How is that possible? Were they incapable of making that decision at 17? Now we can have that argument, but again, that's not the argument we're having here, because people that think transgender people are not allowed to go to the doctor, they don't give a shit about the logic of their argument. They use that argument because that is a popular method of it. They could, and what they want to say is, I hate trannies and I hope they all die. That is their heart of heart opinion. But for whatever reason, the language that they use to express that opinion is wrapped up in something else, right? Because for whatever reason, they, I guess, feel societal pressure to hide their true opinion, which, again, their true opinion is, I hate trannies and I hope they all die and I will do whatever I can to kill them. That's their opinion, right? But they don't want to go to jail, right? They don't want to waste their time in jail, going out on a tranny killing spree, which is what they want to do. So what they do is they vote for politicians that will do it legally, and then everyone gets away with it, and the trans people die. And that's why they use stories like, they're too young. Interesting. So anyway, let's read this. This is in Utah. I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say, but let's get the details here. I have an issue where I give my piece before I actually read the story. So, but I feel like people are sufficiently primed already in this modern environment where they don't really need me to set the scene here. But either way, Governor Spencer Cox of Utah signed a bill on Saturday that blocks minors from receiving gender transition healthcare, the first such measure in the country this year, and was expected to be a wave of legislation by state lawmakers to restrict transgender rights. The law prohibits transgender youth in the state from receiving gender-affirming surgery and places an indefinite ban on hormone therapy with limited exceptions. So again, is there a medical basis in this? You can debate that. But if you want to open the door for a medical debate on hormone therapy and puberty blockers and so on and so forth, then we would need to block all healthcare for kids. Again, SSRIs on kids. We got to, I mean, even giving kids, fast food. I mean, hey, it's understudied. So should we ban fast food for kids? Should we ban ice cream for kids? Hey, we don't really know what this does yet. It's understudied, right? So again, but it's not about the logic. Because the truth here is that the way hormones affect your body is extremely well studied. Now again, anything and everything could be studied more, right? Everything in the medical industry is understudied. That's just where we're at in the 21st century. We're still learning, okay? In the same way that 300 years ago, when people were consuming rocks and, putting lead in the water for taste, the effects on that were understudied, right? So again, everything is understudied by default. But what we know is that transition healthcare is a lot safer than almost any other kind of healthcare. Right? Like, for example, you go in for a routine procedure, a surgery of some kind to remove a tumor or maybe to install a pacemaker or some other issue. Surgery always carries a risk, right? But let's imagine you don't, the doctor doesn't sneeze and then like cut your heart open and you bleed out on the table. You make it through the surgery and your life is better. Right? But there's a risk. What if the anesthesia, what if you're like allergic or you've got some reaction and no one knew about it beforehand and now you're comatose or you die? It's possible. Should we ban all healthcare? Are children in need of surgery allowed to make the decision on whether or not they get surgery? But again, logic, right? Again, I'm having a logical argument, speaking in the English language with the English language. But people on the other side of this conversation, earlier I likened it to speaking English versus speaking Mandarin, but more so, less so, it's less Mandarin and more of like a caveman language, right? Like where symbols and letters and words are inconsistent every time you say them, right? So when you say like you care about something, the word care means something differently, completely different depending on the context, right? So I ask them, why don't you care about this? They go, well, I care about that. But do you believe the same thing? Do you believe that children shouldn't be allowed to go to the doctor if they have cancer? Well, no, because whatever. Again, the word care automatically, suddenly, instantaneously, the definition changes completely in their mind, right? And that's consistent for them, right? So again, it's impossible to have this conversation. It's just impossible. But what do we do in a country where a good quarter of the country wants to just, they want to kill minorities? It's a verifiable fact. I mean, just look at what's going on, right? Read the news every day. About a quarter, about 20 to 25% of this country, their first and foremost goal is to execute minorities as quickly as possible. Now, most of them are afraid of doing extra legal means. Now, you see a lot of them are not afraid. They go on mass shootings. They go on killing sprees. They go to, drag queen celebrations and they start killing people. They go to gay clubs. They start killing people. These people, they're not afraid of law, right? They have nothing to lose. But there's a lot of people that have the same ideology that have something to lose, right? Let's say someone is a 1488 person. They want to secure a future for their white family. Well, if they go on a shooting spree and kill a bunch of black people, immigrants, trans people, right, then their kids are going to be at a worse part in life, right? Their kids, who they want to secure a future for because of their beautiful white skin, they're going to be without a father, a mother, whatever. Their life is going to be worse. They might even be traumatized by what you're doing to the point where they might become a cuck soy-infused feminist, a weakened male or whatever it is that it is in your mind, right? So again, what do you do in that situation? You vote for a politician that changes the law because the law is irrelevant. The law doesn't matter. There is no equal protection under the law. If you're gay, you have less rights. It's just a fact. If you're black, you have less rights. That's a fact. If you're an immigrant, you have less rights. That's a fact. There is no equal protection under the law. The law is made up. So what do you do when you're a 1488 person, you want to kill minorities, but you don't really want to take the heat, and you don't want to go to jail, and you don't want to maybe traumatize your own family? Well, you brainwash them by telling them that this is normal. It's normal to hate minorities, right? You give them a comfortable environment, a welcoming environment where everyone hates minorities together. And then you create a culture around promoting a certain sort of political ideology that just totally by happenstance, completely just, it's, whoops, we didn't think about that at all. The Republican Party, hey, we're just in it for the tax cuts, yo. It's just an unfortunate fact that the Republicans also are passing laws that are, again, committing a genocide of minorities. Hey, the Republicans are also, beefing up police that are murdering black people all across the country. Hey, Democrats do that too, to be fair. But again, it's not the intended outcome. Hey, we're just in it for the tax cuts. We're just in it for that fiscal responsibility and cultural mind. We don't want to kill the minorities. I mean, I'm not going to shed a tear if they die, but hey, what's not our goal? And we just have to play this game where 20 to 25% of the country wants to kill every minority group as quickly as possible. And obviously they're going to hide the ball. And then what about the other 75%? Well, let's remove minority groups. So let's say, what about the other 50%? They just don't give a fuck. That's it. I mean, so you got group one, we got 3 groups. Let's imagine all the minorities grouped together. What is that? 20 to 25%. The freaks, the fascists, the psychos, 20 to 25%. That leaves a lot of people in the middle. And this is what I was saying before. Most Americans, especially most Westerners, are just bad people. That's just a fact. They're bad people, right? So you got a middle here that's about 50 to 60% of people, and they just literally don't fucking care at all. They don't give a fuck, right? So one side wants to kill the other minority side, and the middle is just watching the show. They don't give a fuck. Black people getting shot dead in the street by cops, they don't give a fuck. Someone with mental health issues being strangled to death by cops in the back of a police car. Who cares? Transgender people getting murdered in hate crimes. They don't give a shit. Gay people being massacred in nightclubs. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't give a shit. So we got this society where the majority doesn't give a fuck. And there is a minority of people that are not in minority groups, right? Because typically these people are white, though. There's a lot of black and Hispanic genocidal white supremacists. I know people struggle with that, but hey, it's a fact. I struggle with the facts too sometimes. It blows my mind when I meet people like Caitlyn Jenner. I've never met her in person or anything, but when I see them in the wild, it's like, whoa, holy shit. That's some crazy fucking stuff. But anyway, so again, you have 3 major groups in this country. Group A, they want to murder down and destroy all of Group C. And they also want to slowly over time brainwash Group B. Group B, the majority, 50 to 60% of the country, they're neutral. They're apolitical. They don't give a fuck. Right? They don't give a fuck. They're shitty people. That's just a fact. And then you got the minorities who, let's be honest, there's a lot of minorities that are also shitty people. There's a lot of minorities that also don't give a fuck. But at the very least, they have an excuse. They're being oppressed. Society is making it really hard just to live your life. So it makes a little bit of sense when someone who is in a constant struggle for survival maybe doesn't give a fuck as much as someone who is not in a constant struggle for survival. But of course, I believe that everyone in these situations deserves solidarity and should encourage solidarity. But again, we live in a country where about 20 to 25% is going to steamroll everyone else because the minority groups that they're targeting are not powerful enough, and the majority does not care. They just don't care. Democrats don't care. Liberals don't care. Apolitical independents, they don't care. No one cares. Your family doesn't care, right? Your colleagues at work, they don't care. When you go to a restaurant and you have your friends with the waitress or whatever, they don't care. No one cares, right? All your Facebook friends, they don't care. Your Twitter followers, they don't care. No one cares. So, we're in this weird-ass moment where the Civil War is happening. We've been in a Civil War for a long time now. And no one cares. That's why people keep going like, when's the Civil War? We're here. It's already happening. We've been here for a long time. It's just that no one gives a fuck. No one cares. And so when the majority of people, when the overall, the largest amount of people in society don't give a fuck, we are in a position where we need to constantly re-explain reality to them. Because over time, some people are going to go like, whoa, I didn't know this. But over time, people start caring, right? Now, a lot of the times, it's like an addiction. Blissful ignorance is an addiction. And, you can have someone care a lot about the problems of the world and then get lulled back into apathy. It's possible, right? But, but in our position, in my position anyway, at least, and people that I associate with, we're in this position where we just got to re-explain the rules of the game and how it's played to people over and over and over and over and over again. And how many videos have I made that are essentially identical to this one? And how many videos will I make in the future that are essentially identical to this one? Countless, hundreds, thousands, maybe, who knows? I might be doing this for a long time. And is the content really going to be that different? I was saying the same shit 5 years ago. I'm going to be saying the same shit in 5 years. Now, again, there's going to be a lot more dead people. Maybe I'll be one of them. Maybe I won't be. We'll see. Right? But the main rules of the game haven't really changed. The way I would explain this to people isn't really going to change. So, I don't know, man. Depressing is a word I would use to talk about this scenario. But, look at this quote. Look at this fucking asshole. While we understand our words will be of little comfort to those who disagree with us, we sincerely hope we can treat our transgender families with more love and respect as we work to better understand the sides of it. Like, you ever, this is that shit, that liberal shit that I really hate. And this guy, Spencer Cox, he's a Republican. This guy made a big stink last year about a transgender sports ban, saying no one should have to live in shame for being who they are. Because Spencer Cox is apparently a gay Republican, I think. I read that somewhere, I'm not sure. But this guy did a big thing. I am vetoing this anti-trans law. 6 months later, well, I hold the Bible. We understand our words will be of little comfort to those who disagree with us. And again, disagree is doing a lot of work here. Disagree. Yeah. I just disagree on what color grass is. I disagree. My cell phone case. Now, you might see blue. I see green. We just disagree. Now, does one of us have an issue with our eyesight to where maybe this does look green to you? And that's interesting, but hey, we just disagree. Right? This purple pen. Everything I got is purple. I'm like that bitch in Breaking Bad. I just disagree. This is actually red. I disagree. Hey. I'm allowed. Everyone's got an opinion, bro. Just, we disagree. Now again, as I've said, as I've laid out, the facts of the situation, the reality, is that transgender healthcare for kids is one of the most successful forms of healthcare on the planet. That's why they're trying to ban it. They don't want transgender people to be happy. And if a 16-year-old is supposed to have to make the decision of whether or not they want to be an indentured servant for the rest of their life, again, the college scam, then is a 16-year-old capable of deciding what their gender is? Absolutely. If a 16-year-old is capable of driving a giant metal and styrofoam and sometimes plastic death machine, then maybe they are also allowed to decide what gender they are. And again, great news for the skeptics out there is that these processes give you a gigantic turnaround period. Once again, puberty blockers, you can be on puberty blockers for years. Get off, and your whatever normal would have been, you're totally normal. So, the science, the logic, the facts of the situation, again, point to a very different world. But these people, they fundamentally, their only goal is eradication of the other. That's it. Now, they might have other goals, like they might want to be, they might want their work bowling team to win the championship, they might want a certain sports team to win the Super Bowl, they might want their kid to go to a college that's really prestigious, right? They might have other goals. But politically speaking, in how they engage with one another in politics, their goal is eradication of the other. That's just a fact. And it sucks having to live life knowing that about 1/5 to 1/4 of Americans want me to die. That's scary shit. Now, I've lived in the South where that number is closer to 1/2 of people want me to die. That was a lot scarier. But it's still pretty fucked up to know that as a whole, in America, about 1/4 of these people want me to die. And about 2/4 would watch it if it happened and wouldn't care at all. That's weird. And again, there's no amount of logic. You can't logic your way out of this. As much as certain college professors might protest in the other direction, there is no out-logicking you can do to a right-wing brain because they don't operate on logic. And if they did, the rules of their logic are not the rules of yours. There is no such thing as a unified and well-understood English language. Most Americans read and write at a 3rd grade level. You can't really... When most Americans don't even really understand the language, how the fuck could we have a unified language? We don't. We can't. And therefore, logic is impossible. What is the other option? What are the alternatives? What is the solution? I have no solutions. Like, okay, here's the solution. Everyone get out to vote. And vote for Democrats. Because they wouldn't do this, but they do. Look at Hillary Clinton. Is Joe Biden stepping up to the plate to do anything about it? Nah. Is our representative bisexual senator standing up to do anything about this? Nah. So, okay. Every politician currently elected is useless. Sans 1, maybe 5. Okay, so what do we need? Well, we need to get a bunch of new generation of politicians. Where do we get the money from? Oh, we don't. So that plan is scrapped. All right, what do we do? Door-to-door canvassing campaigns to try to tell people that they shouldn't want to kill transgender people? Oh, that might work, but it might seem a little preachy, so let's probably not. What do you do? I mean, what do you do? I mean, what's the solution? What is it? Pick up guns? Fight in the streets? Nah, that's not really gonna happen. You wanna know why? Because the middle group. You remember 2020? Remember the George Floyd uprising? What did the white moderates do? They both sided it. Police murdering innocent people. Police torturing black people for entertainment and laughing about it. Police murdering journalists and the press. And what did the middle group do? Both sides. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They're terrorists. It's a wash. So, good luck with that. That's not going to work. Protesting peacefully? That's not going to work. Protesting violently? That's not going to work either. Unless you get way too violent enough to make a change. Well, then that's going to put us in a rocky situation. Probably not going to work either. So what is the solution? Hey, I'm all ears. I got none. I have no solution. My solution is smoke weed and try my best to not think about the world for most of my day. That's my solution. If you got a better one, I'm all ears. I'm open to it. But my opinion, as of this moment in time, if you were to snapshot my brain and how it functions on January 30th, 2023, my solution is there is no solution. So make the best of it while you can. And living your life the way you are is a radical act. Think about that. Just being yourself. If you're a queer person, if you're black, if you're an immigrant, if you're in any of these minoritarian groups, just being yourself and living your life. That's pretty fucking radical. Think about that, man. That's crazy. You're telling me? I mean, a lot of people love talking about detransitioners. What if they regret? What about trans regret? There was a study done of transgender people that detransitioned, and it found that 98% of people detransitioned because they could not handle the stress of being who they are. Not because they weren't trans, but because going to work while trans, going to church, whatever family, whatever their living situation, it's too stressful. Maybe they got beaten walking home one night and they just said, it's too much. I'd rather repress for the... That's 98% of detransitioners. But hey, the other 2%, their feelings are valid too. So the other 2%, most of them also, again, just wasn't for me. Hey, it wasn't for me. I tried it. I turned around and I feel great. And it was a good experience and it was worth the try. And now I feel even more secure in my gender identity that matches what I was assigned at birth. I tried switching it. Wasn't really my thing. It felt out of place for me. I switched back and now I'm even more reinforced. I feel, hey, that's great. But yeah, it's true. There are a couple people that go like, damn it, I made a bad mistake and I fucked myself up. That happens with everything. It happens with food. People can eat their way into a heart attack. Should we ban fast food? Alcohol. People will drink. Maybe they'll drink too much and drive. They have a car accident. They come to in a jail cell. 3 people are dead. They made a mistake. Should we ban alcohol? This idea that people need to be infantilized, some people might make a mistake, so let's ban something for everyone, that's ridiculous. But again, logic is irrelevant on this issue. We don't discuss this issue in a logical format. So why am I bothering to make a 30-minute video using logic? I don't know. But hey, whatever. Anyway. So, how's everyone doing this morning? I'd like to remind everyone that I'm going to be doing a Twitch stream. I'm going to get really high and play Doom for like 6 hours. On Twitch. So if you want to engage in any sort of conversation, feel free. You know, it's open QCock at any point. But hey, just throwing that out there. But let's jump in. I kind of, I mentioned this, foreshadowing, if you will. If you treat every Above It All show like a movie, like a feature-length film, right? Hey, what do you do in movies? You foreshadow. So I've been foreshadowing this one. This is something I talk about on my program frequently. Is food. What do you eat? I have a question. If you're watching the live stream, post in the chat room, what did you eat today? If you haven't eaten anything yet, I don't know. What did you eat yesterday? What was the last thing you ate? Okay. Did you have breakfast, lunch, whatever it was? I don't care what it was. I don't care, but just tell me what was the last thing you ate. Right? If you're watching the video, scroll down and leave a comment before you write anything else. That's my action for you. But this is something I talk about on my program often. And to me, it's always good to have supporting evidence of my theories, If I believe the world is a certain way, and then evidence came out contrary, I'd have to square that and figure out which side I come on. But on my show, I talk a lot about fast food. I talk about unhealthy food. I talk about how 95% of Americans don't eat fiber. What is fiber? Fruits, vegetables. 95% of Americans don't eat fruits or vegetables. 93% of Americans have low-level metabolic dysfunction. What does metabolic dysfunction lead to? Leads to liver fat accumulation, which leads to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It leads to type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance leads to inflammation, a weaker immune system. 93% of Americans. Hey, that's interesting. Study reveals the effect on fast food on the liver. If there was ever a reason to resist the urge to order from the McDonald's late-night menu, a new study from the Keck School of Medicine revealing the detrimental effect of fast food consumption on livers may provide just that. The study, published earlier this month in Clinical Gastroenterology and Hepatology, found that eating fast food, defined in the study as meals obtained from either a drive-through restaurant or one without a waitstaff, is associated with an increased risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition in which excessive fat builds up on the liver and can contribute to significantly increased mortality. Now, I want to take a moment here to historicize this. Why is this disease called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Well, because originally, when this disease of the fatty liver was first discovered, it was because people that were alcoholics generally had it. Did you know, by the way, that 1 in 5 kids have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? 1 in 5. 1 in 5 kids now have a disease that for hundreds and hundreds of years would only ever happen from alcoholics. Grown adults who drank alcohol every day, now 20% of kids have the same disease. So that's why it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because when we first discovered it, it was a disease of alcohol. What is alcohol? Alcohol is fermented sugar. What is in soda? Unfermented sugar. Just as refined, just as pure, just as deadly, but one missing step. The bacterial fermentation for how you create alcohol. Alcohol is basically sugar. Certain life forms, yeast, for example, will consume the sugar and out comes alcohol, right? That's what happens. So that's why 1 in 5 kids have a disease that 50 years ago would be extremely rare, even for alcoholics. Now 1 in 5 kids has it. A condition in which excessive fat builds up in the liver and can contribute to significantly increased mortality. The study also found that people suffering from obesity or diabetes who consume 20% or more of their daily calories from fast food have severely elevated fat levels in their livers. Compared to those who consume little to no fast food, the general population who obtain more than a fifth of their energy intake from fast food has also seen a moderate increase in liver fat versus those who do not consume as much. There is a phrase that I enjoy to describe people that are not obese, that have fatty liver, and that is an abbreviation or acronym, whatever it is, called TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. We live in a society where a lot of the country, a lot of our world loves to bully fat people. Like, you ever see those like swimsuit models that are plus sized? Right? And then you look at the comment sections and it's like fatty, fatty, fatty. Look at that fat, disgusting, fat, fat, fat. Well, guess what? 93% of Americans have metabolic dysfunction, which again, like I said, leads to things like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's 93%. 95% of Americans don't eat vegetables. So someone out there who's calling someone else fat, there is a 95% chance that their diet is really nothing better. So there's a new term for you, TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. A lot of people. Now, you ask me this question, where would I rather fat accumulate? On my ass or on my organs? And I would choose my ass any day of the week. And so should you. So if someone who eats fast food all the time says like, oh, I'm thin, I got a good metabolism. No, you don't. No, you don't. The fat's got to go somewhere. You just can't see the fatty liver in the mirror because it's inside your body. So if you're a relatively thin person and you indulge in fast foods often and you think, well, I'm not fat, I'm not obese. Hey. Maybe don't give up so easily. While prior research in the field established a link between fast food consumption and diabetes or obesity, the study is one of the first to explore fast food's negative effect on liver health. Said Annie Kardashian, assistant professor at the clinical quote, we wanted to see if we could show and link fast food consumption to a higher risk of having fat buildup in the liver. What was surprising to me is how many people are eating fast food and how many people are eating over a fifth of their calories from fast food. Now, fast food is not very dissimilar to processed food in general. So studies have been done on processed and ultra-processed foods that have yielded the same results. So that's why I already knew all this stuff. It doesn't really take a leap in logic to see the similarities between fast food and processed and frozen meals and all that shit. Most of the shit that you get at McDonald's is pre-frozen. They throw it in a fucking skillet for 2 seconds just to get the frost off of it, and then they serve it to you, right? So it's literally just the frozen food aisle, but you pay a premium for it. And so the idea that Americans get a fifth of their calories from fast food, to me, is a useless metric. Now, again, it's interesting, that's the power the fast food companies have or whatever. But I want to know what amount that they're getting from ultra processed foods overall. Because in a lot of other studies that I've read, it's closer to 70 or 80%. Now, again, 1/5 can be McDonald's. But when 3 of the other fifths are Marie Callender, you're not doing much better. Tyson, you're not doing much better. So, hey, think about that one, Jack. Kardashian and her colleagues analyzed the most recent data provided in the 2017-18 National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, the largest annual survey in the country, to explore the impact of fast food on liver health. Specifically, Kardashian and her colleagues analyzed the fatty liver measurement from approximately 4,000 adults in the survey and compared that to the fast food consumption histories. Among those surveyed, 52% of them had consumed fast food within 48 hours before taking the survey. Jesus fucking Christ. 29% of those who had fast food experienced a significant rise in their liver fat levels as they consumed 1/5 or more daily calories from fast food. Now, another thing about this article, and maybe even the people who write it, is daily calories don't mean anything. Now, I've been on this beat for a while. Calories are a myth. It's not real. There's no such thing as calories. Now, that might shock you. That, I guess, is a controversial statement. But calories don't exist. Now, where did the unit of measurement known as the calorie come from? Calorie is essentially how much energy can you get from a food item if you burn it to a crisp in a very specific experiment in like a box somewhere. Okay. But what does that have to do with the human body? Nothing, right? So them burning up a food in a box somewhere has nothing to do with the human body. And why is that? Well, let's imagine, to put it simply, you have a tapeworm. Never hear of a tapeworm? It sits inside your body and steals your food. Pretty simple analogy, right? You eat food, you eat calories, and you don't get any of it. Or maybe you get some, I've never had a tapeworm. I don't know if it's like a 100% scenario. But hey, okay. Now, you might not know this, but inside of your body, there are trillions of creatures. Now, I hope you don't have any tapeworms, but you do have bacteria that live inside of you. Trillions of them. Now, think about it this way. We keep talking about God and Jesus and Allah and all that stupid shit. The real God is you. And you got trillions of motherfuckers inside of you that depend on your decisions for their survival. Right? So, based on what kinds of bacteria are inside of you, because a lot of people have a broken microbiome, because once again, I said 95% of Americans don't eat fruits or vegetables, which results in a broken gut microbiome. That changes the way you absorb food into your body, right? So you can eat 100 calories of an apple, and you, as in human body cells and your mitochondrial body cells, which, by the way, did you know that the mitochondria is a different creature with a different set of DNA? Just something to throw out there. So every cell, co-op, just throwing that out. Okay, a little fun fact for you. So you might only get 40 calories of that apple, you being your body. And the other 60 calories, now again, I'm just throwing the numbers out here. These are made up from me. I'm not sure exactly about 100 calories. So that's my own personal drawing a metaphor here. And the other 60 might go to your gut microbiome. And that's good. That's good. Now, again, think about it this way. When you eat food, nutritionally, there's diminishing returns. Right? You can eat the same protein, cooked in the same way. It's the same exact protein, but you just had 5 servings of it. you have that 6th serving, it's going to be digested differently. The 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd, and the 2nd, they're all going to be digested differently. So again, calories are not real. There is no such thing as calories. Now, why do we use calories as a unit of measurement? Fast food companies. I know, that might be a surprising one to you. Fast food companies, sugar companies, soda companies like Coca-Cola, they rallied around the calorie because they knew it was a metric of disinformation and that it would be easy to control, and it is an easy concession. So there was an awakening, right? 70s, 80s, 90s. There was an awakening of people going like, maybe our diet's not looking so good. At the advent of fast food, processed food was getting into everyone's houses, right? So there's some pushback. What did these companies do? They blamed everything on fat. Has anyone here been through a low-fat diet? Yeah, you were lied to. The low-fat diet never worked. It was made at a think tank paid for by Coca-Cola. There is no low-fat diet. They lied to you. So when you go to the store and you see low-fat yogurt, that's not a thing, okay? I mean, it is literally a thing. You could buy it, but that's not like it's not beneficial because it's low-fat. That doesn't mean anything, okay? And they also put calories on everything. Why is that? Because people understand about calories. And we had the percent of daily calories. Like, oh, you're supposed to eat 2,000 calories a day. What? Who made that number up? 2,000? That's a standard? No, it's not a standard. Like, calories are made up. And who made them up? Sugar companies, soda companies, fast food companies. Now, again, calorie is a real unit of measurement that just has nothing to do with the human body. So it is true, right? The law of thermodynamics, whatever, it is true. If you use the calorie machine and you put the apple in a box in a machine, yes, it is true. You will get X calories for that apple. That is factual. What does that have to do with your body? I don't know. I have no idea. So let's keep going. We use data, this is a quote, that's already available in the data set on age, gender, race, ethnicity, physical activity, and income. Then what we did was created a model where we looked at the relationship between fast food, or more than 1/5 of the calories from fast food, with the outcome of fatty liver. Now again, the idea that you're just using that 1/5 of calories is fast food, and again, the other 4/5 or 3/5 could just be frozen food that they got at the frozen section of the grocery store, which is almost identical, if not completely identical. But hey, I know they're trying to prove the link between fast food, very specifically fast food, right? So I get it. They're trying to do that causal link. And that I think is beneficial, and I understand that. But again, I just want to put this in a broader context for you. It was particularly challenging, yet fulfilling for researchers to figure out why factors or variables are appropriate to be included in the study, said Jennifer Dodge, co-author of the study. Blah, 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 blah. Quote, when we got to the phase of the study where we were looking at fast food and its association with liver fat after adjusting for things that may be confounders, like consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages, alcohol intake, or physical activity, Dodge said, that's where it's really interesting, so you can see the whole picture. The detrimental effect of fast foods on liver health is extremely alarming to researchers, as fast food consumption has grown exponentially in the past 50 years, especially during the coronavirus pandemic. So again, I just want to put this bluntly, and now you can read the rest of this if you'd like. There's some more interesting stuff in here, and you can of course go find the source study. But I want to put this bluntly, okay? What is the definition of food? Whatever it is in your head, feel free to write it in the chat, in the comments, whatever. What is the definition of food? Is alcohol food? Is it? Because if your definition of food is it has calories, alcohol has calories. Is alcohol food? My definition of food is it provides your body with energy that it needs to continue functioning. That's my definition of food. Now, if you ask people, right, if alcohol is food, chances are they might say no. But under the same logic, neither is McDonald's. McDonald's isn't food. What does it do? Does it provide nutrition for your body? No. Does it provide energy that your body needs to maintain homeostasis? No. It's a drug. If alcohol is a drug, so is fast food. It's a drug. Now, am I saying that drugs are bad? No. I love drugs. I use drugs every day. Coffee, for example. I'm using it right now. But you know what? I know about coffee. I know about caffeine. I know what it does to my body. And with that knowledge, I choose not to drink coffee all day, every day. Okay? Same thing with alcohol. I know alcohol is a drug. I choose not to drink every single day. You know, but for some very interesting circumstances that may arise that would want me to, you know, but hey, I make those decisions. But how many people out there do you think genuinely believe that eating fast food has any positive value? It doesn't. It's poison. It should be treated the same way as alcohol. And the way your body treats it is very similar to alcohol. Right? So imagine, oh, I'm hungry, I'm starving. I don't have much time, but I gotta eat something. Now, unless you're already in full-fledged diabetes mode or whatever, chances are you literally don't actually need to eat something. A lot of the time, if someone is hungry, right, they're not actually in need of food from an external source. A lot of people, they have created an addiction mindset in their brain where they associate hunger with the need for specific kinds of food. A lot of people are so stupid. Did you know 75% of Americans don't drink water? I know, right? Jesus, fuck. Or they don't, rather, I should say, they don't drink the appropriate levels of water. So they're below baseline because they replace water with coffee or replace water with juice because they're fucking stupid, okay? They're dumb. So a lot of people confuse a hunger signal for a thirst signal, right? But also a lot of people, when they feel hunger, there's an association in their brain, right? And the logical part of their brain is thinking, I need something. And the addictive part of their brain that's addicted to fast food is thinking, well, Wendy's is something. And something, the logical, then that kicks it back to the logical part of the brain. And the logical part of the brain says, well, something is better than nothing. Now again, how many Americans do you think actively engage in fasting? And I'm not talking about intermittent fasting. I'm talking about fasting. I'm talking about 24-hour minimum. Now, again, I love intermittent fasting too, but I'm just saying, how many Americans do you think in the last year or two have done a 24-hour fast? How many Americans do you think have done a 48-hour fast? A lot of Americans would never even consider that because they're under the belief that something is better than nothing, and that feeds their addiction mindset. Now, again, also worth noting, not everyone is capable of fasting. Always do a lot of research before you fast. If you have access to a doctor, consult your doctor before doing something like that. Also, research what supplements you want to take for minerals if you plan on doing a long fast. But hey, I'm just throwing that out there. This is like the talking fast portion of like the medicine commercial. But anyway. So the addiction part of your brain is thinking, I need Wendy's. The logical part of your brain is thinking some calories are better than no calories, because the logical part of your brain is operating on rules that aren't really real. They're not real. So logically, it makes sense. Yeah, if you believe that a calorie is a calorie and something is better than nothing, then logically, yeah, McDonald's is better than not eating. But the set of rules that your brain is operating on are lies that were sent to you from somewhere. It started from these corporations like McDonald's, like the fast food industry, like the soda industry. It started there. It filtered through the medical industry because they buy and pay for doctors to do bunk and debunked science, right? That they then push to the USDA and FDA, which then they push down into school systems, which then they push into, they teach you this stuff, and then you have a kid and you're teaching your kid some outdated science, right? So, but the origin are these fast food and soda companies. They created all this stuff, all the lies that are used to keep you in the addiction mindset. So, I'm just throwing that out there. Throwing a lot of food for thought in your direction. But a lot of Americans are addicted to poison. The idea that it's called fast food, to me, is a misnomer. It's not food. Now, fast, debatable, right? You ever get asked to pull up in line at the McDonald's? Pfft, we've all been there. So fast, hey, debatable. In food, well, I'm willing to say that the jury is in, and they've decided that it's not food, but it's poison. If you were if you were thirsty, and you're like, well, something's better than nothing, and you reach over for that glass of whiskey that you have, I got news for you. Something is not better than nothing. And it's the same for stuff like fast food. Now, again, every once in a while, go for it. Go for it. You know what? I am a supporter of informed, and that's underlined, bold, italicized, informed choices when it comes to drug use. For example, I drink caffeine in the form of coffee every day. Sometimes I'll drink an energy drink, maybe once a week. Maybe not even. I'll drink an energy drink, just a little fun. But am I going to drink an energy drink every day? No, because it's an unhealthier form of caffeine. Coffee is healthier than a Monster, right? So I'm going to go with that. Right? For alcohol, maybe I'll have a drink once a week. I'm certainly going to try to avoid having one every day, but sometimes it's Christmas time. And I hate fucking Christmas, so maybe I'll get drunk every day. Who knows? We can have extenuating circumstances. But it all boils down to informed. The word informed. I'm informed when I make these decisions. How many Americans do you think actually believe, if you ask them, they would argue with you. They actually believe that if they're hungry, that Wendy's, Burger King, or McDonald's is going to feed them and give them food. How many people actually, they fundamentally believe that it's food? I'm willing to say this. If you order takeout, if you go to a restaurant, if you get fast food, now, again, a calorie is not a calorie, but if you're going to do it, I highly recommend eating actual food in addition to the drugs. I like to eat a salad beforehand. Even if it's like eating some baby carrots out of the fridge in addition to your Taco Bell night. Again, if a calorie is a calorie, you'd be eating more calories, therefore getting fatter, right? But wrong. Because again, a calorie is not a calorie. And the so-called fast food is actually not providing any nutrients. And so you might eat more. If you ate like a bag of baby carrots alongside your Whopper, you would probably be more likely to lose weight than gain weight, even though you're eating more calories. And that's because the carrots are actually fucking food, and it's actually nourishing your body. And yeah, you're sprinkling a little drugs in there. And hey, some people need to put sugar in their coffee. I say, if you need sugar in coffee, why are you even addicted to caffeine? What's the point? But also, again, the bottom line here is people need to be informed. But you know, I don't think that there's going to be much of a mass awakening on this, at least in anytime soon. When do you think we're going to get to the point where we get rid of the term calorie from our lexicon? You know, when do you think we're going to evolve past calorie? So many people, they get trapped in the dietary shit and they count calories, and it's like, again, it's disinformation. Anyone who counts calories, you got lied to. You're doing everything completely wrong. If you're counting calories, you are 1000% wrong. Right? I've never been unhealthier than when I was counting calories because it hides the ball, right? What is the ball? Macronutrients. You can eat 5,000 calories of an extremely healthy salad and lose weight. How is that possible? Because it's actually fucking food and it feeds your fucking body. And when your body is well fed, guess what happens? It looks, it feels, and it acts better. And what are you? You're just your body. So anyway, that's all I got, but we'll see how many people, whatever. All right, I guess I'll do 2 segments today. I was going to talk about Snap, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't want to double up on food. But Snap is a whole different issue. I mean, I might be here for an hour tomorrow as well. I fast for 16 hours every day. It's what I found that works for my body with my digestive system being paralyzed, but I'm looking forward to the new implant. This new implant, what do you mean by that? Unless there was some other context that I missed. I want to talk about this. I don't know if Abraham Dominguez is here. Dominguez. But they said McDonald's is fine, just watch what you eat. Now, both of those statements are wrong. 1, McDonald's is not fine. And 2, watch what you eat is not a thing. Right? Fast food, is chemically designed to be addictive. Right? It is in the same category as stuff like meth. In how it changes when you eat things like a McDonald's meal, quote unquote, it literally immediately changes your brain structure. Because again, our bodies are not, there was no such thing as the Big Mac when we were hunting and gathering, right? So our brains literally, and I mean this not in the figurative sense of literally, but in the literal sense of literally, your brain thinks that it's so good that it will literally actually make it so that you don't have willpower. Right? Like, people have more willpower when it comes to alcohol than they do with stuff like McDonald's. Right? It is chemically addictive. It creates addiction pathways in your brain instantly. Right? The moment you put that Big Mac in your mouth, you are instantly addicted. Instantaneously. And again, the more you eat, it's like a trail in the woods, right? The more you walk on it, the more it's going to become a trail. Right? But the moment you eat it, instantly your brain recognizes, holy shit, this is amazing. This is amazing. And again, it's more amazing than alcohol. A lot of people, they drink alcohol and they don't even like it because it tastes like shit most of the time. Sometimes you ever get like one of those really good, like fucking like top shelf fucking liquors and it's like, I can't even taste the alcohol. I mean, hey, we're not talking about that. we're talking about like, really shitty alcohol, the stuff that most people are introduced to. A lot of people, they drink alcohol and they go like, this fucking sucks. But then maybe they start feeling good, they feel the woo, and then maybe they'll be like, okay, I get it. But with food, like fast food, I should say, not food, but poison, it is engineered in a laboratory to be as chemically addictive as possible instantaneously, immediately. As soon as it touches your tongue, you're instantly addicted for the rest of your life. You know what that tastes like, and it's just, you can get it at any point you want. All you have to do is give up your money. So think about that one. And we give this shit to kids. Like, we give drugs to kids. We give sugar to kids. Kids eat more sugar than adults on average. 1 in 5 kids have fatty liver disease. So, no, I believe that willpower does not exist when it comes to fast food. Now, can you be more likely to resist than someone else? Absolutely. But I, for example, at 1,000%, I'm a fast food addict. I haven't had fast food in a long time, but I'm still addicted. Right? My brain can conjure up the taste of a McDonald's chicken nugget right now, just thinking about it. I'm addicted. I haven't had McDonald's chicken nuggets in like 8 years, but I'm still addicted right now. As I'm saying this, I'm addicted forever, for the rest of my life. Why? Because my stupid fucking parents gave me drugs when I was a kid, and now I'm addicted for the rest of my life. But, in the same way that an alcoholic who is trying to quit alcohol would flush the alcohol down the toilet, right? If you live somewhere where there's fast food right across the street, I don't know, man, maybe you should consider moving. I mean, I'm serious. And that's how insidious this shit is they build them everywhere. Same thing with like coffee shops. If you're addicted to caffeine, it's going to be really hard to avoid looking at a coffee shop. So anyway, just a little amendment for you. I don't know if that person was even a serious viewer or they were just trolling, but I just thought I would go in. But anyway, that's my show for today. I'm going to talk about Snap and some other stuff tomorrow. Gastric stimulator implant. I've never heard of that. I would love if you told me more. Yeah, mustard is so good. And it's like, it is one of it. I mean, when you compare it to shit like ketchup, right? Miles, or rather meters better in health. Hip hop fish and chicken with crack seasoning. I mean, once in a while, feel free. Oh, I understand, home. I understand. Yeah, mayonnaise is garbage. I don't understand the fascination with mayonnaise, to be honest with you. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. My brain can only produce like an hour of stimulating thought exercises, and now I'm done. I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch, within an hour. I wanna get started soonish. I'm gonna go on a walk. I've been trying to walk in the mornings recently, but if I can't walk in the morning because I don't want to. Try to, but if I can't, I always do it after the show, like immediately. Like I get up and I go outside. Yeah. But, again, that's the thing with the insidious nature of processed food, is that people genuinely think that it's in the same category as food. And if people think, oh, I need food to live, and this is food, they might, understand it's not good food, but it's food. It still convinces them that, something's better than nothing. That's the loop I remember being in. I met a lot of people that go like, oh, I'm hungry. It's too late to cook. Let's go get McDonald's. Like, hey, if you're trying to have a party, bring in the French fries. Let's, if you're having a social gathering, let's get the chips and dip, right? Like, I have no problem with that. In the same way that, if you're at a party and everyone's drinking, why not have a couple? It might make the... But outside of that, if you're eating McDonald's alone on your couch at 1 a.m., you're an addict, That's an addiction. In the same way that if I'm drunk off my rocker by myself at 1 a.m., not looking so good, But anyway, I don't know. I can keep talking about the food, but it's snowing outside, and I'm going to go for a walk. So thank you all for watching. I do appreciate people watching this. I don't know why yet. I'm not sure why people watch this. I don't know. But they do. Some people do. Very little. And I appreciate it. Yeah. Apparently a white cop was involved with the murder of Tyree Nichols and was not fired or charged like the black officers. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Whenever you hear a story about cops, right? It's always like, for me, it's exactly like, oh yeah, right. White people are superior. Feel free to take this out of context. Within the police ranking forces, they view white people as superior, so of course they're going to charge the black guys, say, well, those are the bad apples, and then the white guy's going to walk off scot-free, of course. I mean, duh. Duh. I mean, it's the police in Tennessee, for Christ's sake. I mean, no shit. But yeah. I could talk about that, but I feel like everyone else is. So I have nothing else to add, but yeah. But anyway, that's it. Bye-bye!